Hello guys, it is Tuesday. A bit more what you would expect in the way of weather. It's raining. We have had loads of really impressive thunderstorms lately. I'm just reversing out of the driveway. There's that thing sticking on again. They say that there's nothing wrong with it. That's proof of it. I'm going to take that little bit of recording and email it to, because we left our car into, we had to wait 2.5 months for an appointment. We said the handbrake kept sticking on and they said there's nothing wrong with it. And they couldn't find anything wrong, and it's just done it again now. It hasn't done it for quite a while, so hopefully that picked up on video. So what was I going to say? Yeah, it's really bad raining. It's not warm. Remember I said this is we never get weather like this? I've just realised I'm going to need petrol. Oh! Isaac's got his grading tonight for Jujitsu, so it's 2 runs in and out to town. So I've got enough petrol to do it, but it takes it pretty low. Oh dear me. So we had 4 weeks of lovely weather, really, really nice, and we're now paying for it with constant rain. The only thing that irritates me is that all the kids were stuck in school for 4 weeks, most of them doing exams, and I mean, beautiful weather, and then the minute, Isaac's last day of school is tomorrow, and look, and it's due to rain for the next week. As far as, sorry, this is going to just hang down in front because I have nobody to hold it. It's paying for the nice weather now with thunderstorms and rain constantly. It's my mum's birthday today, which is probably where I should have started. Yeah, 27th of June is my mum's birthday. She is 68 today. Quite young, yes. So it doesn't look because she's obviously in a wheelchair, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to take her anywhere, because it takes so long to get her into the car and up the ramp. She would be soaked. And same thing about taking her out in the chair. I don't know what we're going to do. She's going to be stuck in on her birthday, which sucks. I'm going to Tesco to pick up a bunch of flowers. So I've left home a bit earlier. I've already got her birthday presents over the last couple of weeks. I bought her a ring last week, and the week before I bought her a new jumper. But I don't want to have nothing to give to her, so I'm going to go and pick up a bunch of flowers and a little cake for her, so that I've got something to give her today. So yeah, I'm just a bit scunnered at the weather. I was hoping it would at least be, I don't mind if it's not sunny or hot, as long as it was dry, so I could take her out, but I don't know, she's not very good physically at the minute at all, or mentally, to be honest. She's got a really bad kidney infection that won't go away. She's on her 2nd course of antibiotics. I'm fully expecting a hospitalisation in the next month. She gets really weak. She's almost paralysed completely down one side. She's really difficult to work with, to get from her chair and into the bathroom. We're having to, the carers are now using a hoist morning and evening when she's at her worst. And when I'm there, she always wants me to take her to the bathroom on that steady, and it's quite scary because Jesus. Right, why is that coming on? That's nothing to do with the radio. That was my CD. It's haunting. It is. So nothing much to tell you at the minute, guys. Just going into my mum's for her birthday. I'll let you know what we did on the way back. I'm thinking we'll just probably sit in, but then I shall video a little bit this evening of Isaac's Jujitsu. I can't, obviously we're not allowed in for the grading, but afterwards when the kids are being given their belts, I'll do a little bit of filming. He will be purple, his next belt will be brown, no, his next belt will be brown and white, and then the next one will be brown, and the last one's black. So he's got 2 belts between him and a black belt after tonight. So I'd say your last brown belt, you have to have kept that belt for a year before you're able to go for the black belt. So I'd say 3 years he'll be going for his black belt. So he'll only be 15, which is quite impressive, I think, to get a black belt by mid-teens. So fingers crossed. What horrible weather, pissy weather. And just to add insult to injury, I've just had a tractor with a massive trailer fall out in front of me, which means I'm going to be stuck behind this guy when I've got places to be. Right, you see the car slowing down dramatically now. What are we going down to? 20 mile an hour, guys. I'm still of the impression that farm machinery should not be allowed on main roads. They're supposed to only go from farm to farm, but that's not what they do. They drive miles, making a tailback of miles of people doing 20 miles an hour, which is just wrong. And it's horrible wet weather, so it's not the sort of weather you want to be. Not that I take silly chances normally, but so much traffic, I don't have any room to get around this guy. Right, I'm gonna go, guys. If you haven't noticed, I've also got a horrible cold. I think I've got some sort of hay fever that is making this worse. All the little lambs are sheltering under the hedges. Poor little things stuck out in the weather like this. Got that thing where I'm too close to the actual tractor to be able to see like any sort of distance around it, but it's almost impossible to drive any flipping slower. And there's a tailback already. Right, guys, I'll go. I'll check in with you later and let you know how my mum was, whether we actually got out or not, or whether we sat in today. I shall let you know. Speak to you later. Hello, folks. Sorry if it's a bit quiet. If it's a bit loud. Driving noise. Just coming home from my mum's. We couldn't go out today, both because of the weather. It's still raining, and she's just absolutely exhausted, fallen to one side a lot. I saw the palaver that is her being hoisted to the toilet. Now the carers have been instructed by the OT that every time they come, 4 times a day, she must be hoisted to the toilet. And it takes half an hour each time. They take her in the hoist from the living room into the bedroom, which is downstairs thankfully, and they hoist her in there, put her on the bed, take off her trousers, put her back in the hoist her onto a commode. She goes to the toilet, they hoist her off the commode, back onto the bed, get her changed again, hoist her back up again and into the living room onto her chair. And she's just knackered, she's fallen out to one side, it's not safe. So social worker's coming on Thursday because I've requested that the carers give her tablets in the morning because she keeps forgetting. So they're in a blister pack, which is what the carers requested, but now social worker has to make the request directly, so she's coming out on Thursday. So I've told my mum to request. I think my mum should be catheterised, that's my viewpoint. She can be hoisted if she needs to go to the toilet in another way, but if she needs a wee, which with MS you need to wee all the time. It's one of the symptoms. You need to use the toilet a lot, and if she got dehydrated, it makes the condition worse. So they'd always said we don't like to catheterise because it can lead to infections. But my mum has infections every other month. At the minute she's on to her 3rd week of an infection, so she's not good at all. Things are just going downhill, and now with this new hoist situation, it's not making things easier, it's making things more difficult on her. And the only other real way is catheterisation. Now before they said to her, could she self-catheterise or could my dad do it, which basically means they would have to insert a tiny little thin tube into her bladder, which my mum's not comfortable with, my dad's not comfortable with, because they just don't feel they could do it, and it would have to be done. What they do is they do that multiple times a day every time she needs to go. But my viewpoint is the type of catheter you get when you're in hospital. Why can't she not have one of those where the bag's emptied several times a day? It's just like the tube, and then at the end of the tube there's a little balloon that's inflated inside your bladder that keeps it in. To me, what they cite as the downside, which is infections, well, she's already got infections, so that's, you know, it's not really relevant at this point. So I've asked her to ask and see if it's an option, but I'm just really hoping when this infection goes, her strength picks up a little bit, because at the minute it's particularly bad. We'll see. But I'm heading home now. I got my mum a cake, a nice toffee one from Thornton, so she had cake, and I got her a bunch of really bright colourful flowers that had roses and irises, purple ones, and what's those big bright daisies, gerberas, and then it had like a couple of sunflowers in, but I got her a separate bunch of sunflowers to put with it so that it's like a much bigger bunch and it's really cheerful. And then her friend bought her a bunch of little red roses and these pink things, and I've no idea what they are, but they smell divine. They almost look like sweet pea, but the smell is, it's beautiful. Such a nice smelling flower. And then those little, is it called baby's breath? Those little white bally things that look really nice with roses. So she's got two nice bunches of flowers there. Her friend bought her a bottle of Baileys. I don't know how sensible that was. She's got a load of like little bits from the chemist from my dad, you know, like a nice new 25 quid mascara. I mean, 25 quid for a mascara. My mum rarely wears makeup. I got her the ring and the shirt, and then got her flowers and the cake today, and she got money from my dad, money from two of her friends, so she's done alright. Oh, there's a wee thing telling us what speed we're driving at. What am I doing? 32. Why have I got a smiley face if I'm doing 32? Oh, because it's a 40, it's not a 30. I'm alright then. I thought all like built up places, it goes to 30 down here, but what about this bit? So yeah, no more movement next door. There were the two viewers of the house, the two ladies that has been. Nobody's been at the house since, so we don't know what's happening. I do know that there's no other houses out here to rent. I also know from looking to see if he has the house advertised, I was shocked at the average price, rental price now. Now I don't know how much it is in England, for anyone here watching, but the average rental price here when we first moved back was between 450 and 500, and I know in England it was a bit more. I know we were paying about 500 for our house in Saltaire, and I think they were putting that up to 550 just before we moved back. But now, because I'd been looking online to see if he'd advertised next door, it gave me a chance to see what houses are renting for, and now a typical like 3-bed terraced house, nothing fancy, just an average house, the average rental price is about £695, £700 a month, so 650 to 700. Flats, like a 2-bed flat in a very undesirable area, might I add, was 550, 595. So what used to be quite expensive for a house for rent when we moved back 10 years ago, well it's 11 years ago now, is now the price of a flat in a terrible area. We are so lucky. I mean, where we look, like I've explained before, it is housing executive, well housing association, but because we're rural, meaning in the country, they have to buy a certain percentage of houses to rent out to people, but they buy them in private areas, so we don't live in a housing estate, we live in a privately owned cul-de-sac, and we're the only housing association house in that area. Every other house there is owned, apart from our old neighbour's house, which the man that owns it rents it out. He's a private landlord, so I would imagine the rent on that's quite expensive. Ours is rent controlled because it's housing association. It's quite scary how much, I don't know, I know mortgages have gone up for a lot of people, and I'm sure that's scary, like people coming to the end of fixed terms and stuff like that. But the thing with the mortgages, and I know it's shit and I know it's terrible about it going up and all that, but for people that have mortgages, at the end of the day, you're going to own property. People that rent are paying all this money every month and they have nothing at the end of the, you know, that's it. The money's just been constantly paid and you're not going to have anything at the end of it. So at least your money's going up for something that you actually physically own, not something that you're lining someone's pockets with. But it's frustrating. I'm just glad that we now have somewhere, and the main issue, you know, really, it's like I would like to live somewhere that's more accessible to my parents, but it's so much quieter and nicer to live out of town. If it were a nice area closer to the centre of town, it would be perfect, but who has perfect? You know, who lives in the perfect area? Where we're at is quiet, mostly. It's, you know, it's really nice scenery. Now we have decent neighbours, now that the only bad egg's gone. The only thing really is the length that, you know, it's a bit far out for doing anything in town, but that's the only downside. And it's rent controlled, so can't complain too much. So I've talked all the way home. I don't know what's happening. There's something at the front of this little traffic cavalcade. We're doing 30. I'll check back in just as we're going in tonight to Isaac's grading, and I'll try and film him going to get his new belt. I shall speak to you later. Hello, it is Tuesday evening. I spoke to you earlier. Isaac is on his way. Stick your head in, Isaac. He's on his way to his grading. That was not really putting his head in, that was a ham. He's got his gi on. They don't let us in for the grading, but they'll let us in for the presentation, so we'll get some footage then. Nothing much else to report that I can think of, so I shall, you'll next see us when Isaac's about to have his certificate and new belt.
These people are going for purple, and Caleb Squall, purple, and then Isaac Shaving. Okay guys, as we say, could you get us that on the straight? Ready? Turn this class. Ready? What I want you to do is I want you to just get up on your knees, but not like this, but like this. Can you do that for me? Get up on your knees. My brothers have said, so can you get in the foot mat? Can we get set up so you get in the foot mat? Okay, guys. Let's get cruise to the back.
What are we doing now?
Going home? I need to go to Lidl.
I can't remember this one.
Oh, come on now, not from both angles. Right, have you gone up a belt?
No, I failed.
Isaac's got his purple belt and his certificates. Is for some reason stripping off. Isaac, can you... Oh, God. So much for me trying to get, capture this moment for prosperity. He's stripping off his bloody jujitsu gi.
I'm not wearing my gi.
You know what Darren thinks he's doing with that bloody thing?
You tested it.
Right, I'm going to cut off because the two of them's not helping matters. Me trying to... So Isaac's moved up a belt. That's all we'll say. And he got partnered with a girl and they had to do bear hugs and it was funny.
Yeah. Come on, lady.
So it is Thursday and Isaac has now finished school for the summer. Year 8 done. We are off to Belfast to see the new Indiana Jones movie and have a Chinese buffet. I'm not hearing the best reports about the movie. We shall see. I'm meant to be going to the cinema as well on Sunday night with, I don't tell you yet, with Becky and Kerry and that Tone movie club. But the problem is I've seen everything. But I said, well, most things I don't mind watching the second time. But Kerry wants to see Boogeyman, which I haven't seen. Antrim are showing that, so we might be going to Antrim. Don't know yet. We shall see. No other plans for the weekend as yet. Isaac's friend Daniel is away for the weekend on a boat. I've no idea what he's doing. He's on a boat for the weekend. Apparently he's on a cruise. That's a very short cruise. He's very excited about it. Isaac hasn't told anyone he's going to Florida for 2 weeks. Nobody knows because he says he doesn't like telling people stuff because it's boasting. It's called being excited and a child, surely.
So Daniel's boasting.
Daniel's boasting that he's going on a
boat
cruise, is what Daniel said, and he's
Not
told
cruise.
Isaac multiple times. So Isaac got his school report. I got it yesterday. It's very good, very positive things from the teachers about behaviour and manners, and multiple ones said it's a pleasure to teach. You got a really nice comment from your geography teacher, Isaac, that you don't like. Can't remember what it was now, but I remember it was a really nice comment. But nice comments from all the teachers. And then they do a little summing up at the end, which is exactly the type of reports I used to get. That each teacher would write a comment, then you got your score for your exam, and then at the end you would get, Isaac, you need to blow your nose. What?
I will.
Have you any tissues in there?
Yeah.
See, people constantly sniffing instead of blowing their nose. It does my head in. So, what day is it? Oh, Friday is the last sort of full day of Scouts. No, I don't mean full day, like normal week of Scouts. They are doing some gardening for, it's like the priest has this little Kanban area, and the Scouts occasionally would help out with planting and stuff like that. So they're doing that on Friday night, and then they're having their end of year barbecue. So that's about it. Nothing more much to tell you. I'll let you know if I can remember, which I generally forget what the movie was like. I may do a really short review of the movie, but it's like that when a new movie comes out, everybody and their dog's doing a review of it. So
Do a food review.
no, but nobody can go and have food there, can they? There's nobody really watches from here apart from that Fright Night couple. That's it. Right. I shall check in with you guys later. Nice. That's a plate. That is a plate, folks. Hello, it is Friday evening. I have got my new charity shop jumper that I bought for £3 yesterday from, is it Cancer Research Shop? Yes, I had, this is completely uninteresting, I had a jumper exactly the same as this when I was a teenager, and you couldn't get it off me. I had a pair of red corduroy trousers, and this jumper, well, not this exact jumper, but this still same design, and it was just always on me because I loved it. And when I saw the jumper, I had to have the jumper. So £3, bargain. Friday night, this is technically Isaac's last night at Scouts before they break up for summer, but they do have the canoe camp next week, which is like an overnight, just a one night thing where they go canoeing down like canals and sleep over, and then they do a bit more canoeing the next day. So I got a text earlier today, Benny's still in Cork and I can't bring them tonight, can you? No, and he doesn't know if he'll be back in time to take them tonight, can you take them? Last week was her turn. They couldn't do it because they were going to a special mass for someone that they know that died like 15 years ago, and they have like a mass every year. It's like, okay, fair enough, I'm willing to accept that one. That's a good enough excuse. And then tonight would have been their turn. They've missed, I think, 3. This is the 3rd turn they've missed now. The first one was a wedding. Then there was, and this was after all the other excuses of, I've got a Zoom call, he's working late, he's on call, just 101 excuses of all descriptions.
There is 3 drivers in the house.
There's 3 of them that drive. The sister, who obviously you can't depend on the sister because she's young enough doing her own thing, I'm sure. But the mum, who used to be my mum's carer, but she's now left, she says that she has took this new job working from 5 till 8, cleaning the primary school, but the primary school, to my knowledge, is now broken up for summer, so why would she be cleaning the primary school? Because it's closed. So they said they were going to do turnabout, and they've done it twice, and I've got to the point now, this is it. So because we're breaking up for summer, it maybe sounds really petty, but when you like do something for someone and people start to take advantage of your nature, I begin to get annoyed.
It's like I said to Paddy, if they'd have offered, we'd have done it anyway. But because they don't offer and they lie, it's taking me.
They know my family situation, and they know my mum and dad, and they know that we never get a night where me and Darren can do something because we've always got Isaac. They could once offer to do something to give us a chance to maybe go watch a film together or something like that, but they never do. Well, they've done it twice. So I've decided that come September when they go back, Isaac is going to have an after schools club on a Friday. He does 2 after schools club anyway, chess and Warhammer, so if one of them are on a Friday it won't be a untruth. But basically, if even if it's not, I'm telling them that we're staying in town on a Friday, so we won't be coming all the way back out here, so I won't be able to bring their kids. Then she will say, oh well, can you take them home then? I'll say no, because we're going to my mum's on the way home.
Fish and chip Friday.
So basically what's going to happen is she's going to have to take her own kids. If her kids want to be in something, it's up to them to take them. If they had have done what they said they were going to do, which was shared it, even if it wasn't every other week, even if it was like once a month, but I mean, they've basically taken the kids twice in a year and a half, and no, it's more than a year and a half now.
It's longer. 18 months.
And it just sticks in my throat now. I have to go and pick them up, and I don't mind, you know, Kayla's always well behaved enough, but Robert's, I've no words for what Robert is.
Yeah, but it went from can you take Robert to can you take Robert and my daughter?
Yeah, so
and then sometimes it's just take the daughter because Robert don't want to go. It's like, well,
yeah,
you're taking the mick
we pull out up outside the house, and he doesn't even come out to see his supposed friend Isaac to tell him he's not going. I'm just stuck bringing the 2 of them. But they've, you know, when you get to that point and people don't understand this about me, and they think that I turn, and they think I'm fake, I've heard, because, oh yeah, you know, she's really nice, and then all of a sudden, that only happens if you take the piss out of me. That only happens if you do something over and over and over and over again, and I get to the point, it's like, that's it. I've always been the same. I'll text so much and then I'll blow. I already had words about Robert's behaviour with her. Not much has changed. He's not quite as bad as he was, but he's still very vindictive, very argumentative, very irritating.
Precocious.
So if it's fake for me to lose my rag at people and say, look, you know what, I've had enough of this. Maybe people do see it as being on the turn very fast, but I'm not good at expressing my displeasure and still continuing to do the favour. I have to just either do it or not do it, and I've been doing it, and from September I shall not be doing it. Is that petty? Let me know. I just don't like people taking advantage of other people's good. I know if it were somebody else, and I've said to my dad and my mum, and my mum says, tell her to go to hell, and my dad said something less polite. So yeah, we're pulling up outside their house now. Let's see if
look, he's back.
He's back from work. Didn't make any effort to come down. I don't know if Benny will be back in time to take them tonight. Just pulled up outside the house. There are 4 cars in there.
He's just got back. Oh, just 10 seconds ago. We were going to call you. But Benny had onset instant death. And
Right,
He
I'm gonna go.
might not be up for another 20 minutes.
I'm gonna go now. We have to go try and get Isaac one of them wet bags for his canoe thing because he wrecked the last one by trailing it along the ground. Yeah, they must be coming. Robert's coming. And my mum's not good, and my dad's not good. I'll tell you more about that at a later date, but more stress. Shall speak to you later, guys. Hello, it is Sunday. Just heading into my mum's. God knows what awaits us. Darren had to go in last. Well, I was going to go in, but he wanted to go in instead. My dad was still in bed at 6 o'clock in the evening. My mum had been sat on herself all afternoon. She said she was cold, the heating wasn't on, she couldn't get it on. I was getting to the point now I'm getting really annoyed. So, goodness only knows what the situation's going to be today. I've broached the subject yet again of nursing care home, but basically you raise that, my dad just completely brick walls it, not interested. Meanwhile, my mum's not getting the care she needs. She doesn't need much talking out of doing something like that, but it's like one or two things has to happen. He either needs to get up at a reasonable time every day and do the job, or they need to look into other care, because the situation at the minute is not fair on anyone. We were going to call social worker tomorrow, but we're actually booked to go to Rathlin Island tomorrow on the ferry, and we'll have to leave home like something like 10:30 in the morning to get there for the ferry.
Dobby will be up first thing, so plenty of time.
Yeah, but social workers aren't at the ferry earliest. You'll get hold of them at 9, and then you have a load of other stuff you like to do in the morning, like take dogs out and all that stuff. But I don't know. I'll tell you what though, I'm switching my phone off. We're going to have to switch our phones off, because if we don't, the phone will be going from social workers, and I'm not having the... I mean, I've wanted to go to this place for years. I've never got around to it, and I thought, right, tell them that I'm doing it. I'm going to go see Puffins. And I don't want to have the entire day like ruined by having to have social workers phone me about stuff that's just frustrating the hell out of me. If it were just left down to me, to us, to do the best thing that needs required doing, it would be, even though it's a stressful situation for most people to have to deal with, it would be easier than having to deal with my dad's complete and utter refusal to accept that my mum's at a stage now when even the carers are saying, you know, we're not comfortable with this, it's not working, she should really be in some form of care, it's beyond what we do. Nobody seems to be listening. Meanwhile, I'm constantly sitting waiting. It's got that bad. My dad's not well. He hasn't eaten in a couple of weeks. He was able to go to the pub with his mate on Friday, which really annoyed me. We went in on Friday night when Isaac was at Scouts, and he sat sleeping the entire time I was there. I had to wake him up when I left because my mum started this big fit of crying just as I was leaving, which is fair to no bugger. And then he stayed in bed the next day until 6 o'clock in the evening. Darren went in because my mum was saying, I'm freezing, the heating's not on, and he's been sat all day. And I says, look, do you want me to come in and see that everything's alright? Because he's been so ill. He's had like a nurse out taking blood, he's had to leave a stool sample in, so God only knows what's going on with him. He would never tell you. And it's got so bad, just let's be honest, Darren went in because he didn't want me going in and finding my dad cacked it in his bed, because that's how, you know, serious the worry has got at this point. And I'm just stressing out my tree. This just seems to keep happening at least once a year. Just constant worry about stuff. I think my mum would benefit from a month or so in hospital right now, to get proper fluids, to get rest. You know, I think she'll personally benefit from that, but I don't know. My dad just lets things go on and on and on and never does anything. I mean, the last time my mum was hospitalised, it was a really severe kidney infection she had, a really bad one, which if left, she would have ended up with sepsis. And the carers told my dad, look, we're really concerned, we're really worried. I didn't know this. He did nothing. He just ignored what they'd said. And then they actually contacted me and said, look, we're really worried. We've spoken to Cahill, but it just doesn't seem to be getting through. So then we contacted, and she ended up having to go into hospital. I'm sure she was in for at least 3 weeks at that time. That was the time when she had the delirium really, really bad. And she thought I was my dad's brother when I went to visit her.
The doctors at the hospital thought she'd gone. There was no bringing her back.
Yeah, well, they were talking to me about end of life. Have you had an end of life discussion? And I'm like, you what? I'm not allowed to talk about such things. You know, we're not allowed to think about that. When we try to talk about anything that's remotely realistic, it's completely shot down. My mum, right from when she was first diagnosed with MS, has put her head in the sand and just not addressed it, dealt with it. If it were me, I'm on the other. I think this is why I'm like this. People say, oh, you always look on the worst side of everything, because I've grown up with someone that does the opposite. And just won't look at things as if that were me, I would have looked at everything. I would have looked at prognosis, progression, what to expect, and I would have made the decision right back early on in my diagnosis when I was well. Right, when I get to this stage, we're going to look at this. I certainly would not put my partner or child through what everyone's going through at the minute, and nobody knows what to do.
Well, the last time she was really bad, you were really bad at that stage as well. That's how things slipped without being noticed so much, because
It's just
your ability to go in and out had been reduced.
This seems to happen every few years. Like I'd started a few years back. Well, what knocked me back first time was a really bad pregnancy, and it just, when you've got fibro, anything which is a strain on the body just knocks you for 6. So that happened, knocked me for 6. Then I had the gallbladder surgery, which ended up as open surgery. That knocked me for 6. And then I started trying to get some form of fitness, and I'd even started Zumba. And, you know, I was feeling a little bit of, I still hurt, I'm not going to lie, it still kills at night and stuff, but I thought, right, I'm going to try my best. And then it all kicked off with my mum before in hospitals, and my dad put his back out. My dad was carrying my mum to the toilet at the time and dropped her down the side of the toilet, between the toilet and the wall. But that was at the stage where I was trying to get them to accept carers coming in, and they wouldn't hear of it. She was put in hospital at that time, and a care review was done, and it was decided she had to have carers. So that was forced upon them. They wouldn't listen to me. Now, over the last couple of months, I've started RockFit, which I've been really enjoying. I haven't updated you on my trying to lose weight. I've lost 2 stone since the middle of April, middle of April, which I'm really pleased with. Is it that frustrating thing where you're overweight that you can lose as much as 2 stone and no bugger notices? Maybe if I lost a couple more, people would start to notice, but again, once I try and get on top of things and look after my own health, something just throws me right back into the middle of stress, which exacerbates my condition. And I'm trying really hard after the earlier scare of, earlier in the year when my blood pressure was just shocking and I had to have that monitor. I've been trying really hard to distract myself and to start thinking about it, but sometimes I can't, because they call it catastrophizing, and I think the reason I do that is because I feel that the people in control of the situation aren't doing anything, so it makes me worry that whatever happens next, right, my dad ends up in hospital, that's me having to go in and stay with my mum. My mum ends up in hospital, that's me running up and down to hospital and in to check on my dad. No matter what happens, I may end up, when my mum's in hospital, my dad doesn't want to go and visit because he doesn't like, he just doesn't like having to go anywhere where he has to speak to people. Apart from the pub, yeah. But it's just difficult, and it's not even anything that people can advise you on, because I know if the shoe were on the other foot and I was advising someone else, everything that I would have advised him, I've tried. I've tried talking sternly to my dad. I've been there the last time the social worker did the review. My dad just gets his back up, he huffs, he blames everybody on. When my mum wanted to go in for respite because I talked her into it, I said, look, he needs the break. He was really angry that people had gone and done that in his viewpoint behind his back, and he says to me, Mum, that's a really dirty trick you've pulled on me. Well, my viewpoint is, if you want to be there and not have that form of help, get your arse out of your bed and do it. If you're not fit to do it, be man enough to stand up and say, I'm not capable of doing this. You can't have both ways. And I've told the last time when my mum was in for respite for a day before I had to get her out, I said all this to him and I was very blunt about it. I says, you can't have it both ways. You can't lie in bed all day and then not accept the help. I says, my mum needs the help. She needs that extra form of care, and if you can't give her it, it has to come from somewhere else. And all he did was just sit in complete silence and not speak. So it's like, because I'm not her carer as such, I may be her daughter, but my dad has ultimate say, and even if my mum makes a decision, he could very easily talk her around by just throw an attitude and huff at her, and she doesn't want to be sat in that situation with bad feeling because she relies on my dad for everything. So I just feel like me and Darren are sat constantly waiting on something, and it's almost ruling our lives, and I'm just really angry about it. It's just so I can't even put across to people how stressful it actually is. And I don't have brothers and sisters to turn to. I don't have uncles and aunts on my mum's side. My dad's side, the siblings don't really. It tends to be the case with boys. They don't tend to have much to do with each other. Brothers, well, maybe some do, but any that I know don't really. So you sort of feel pretty much isolated and on your own in the whole situation. And when you hear other people's problems, sometimes they seem so small. That's maybe in it, and saying that some people's problems are much bigger than this. I suppose that's another way of looking at it. But you just have that constant black cloud hanging over your head of what's going to happen next. Is my dad going to get a really horrible diagnosis? I've been through that multiple times worrying. Is he going to end up in hospital? Is she going to... So if something happens to my dad, my mum can't do anything about it. And I've called an ambulance, he sent them away. And another time he was taken into hospital and he signed himself out the same night and came home in the rain, in a taxi, in his bare feet. That's what I'm dealing with, folks. So that's just a vent. That's just a catch up with what's happening. One day, hopefully when things are settled in some form, I'll be able to look back on this and the stress of everything. At the minute, what needs to happen is my mum needs to be in some form of residential care. That's what needs to happen, and my dad does not want her to go into any form of residential care. So that's what we're trying to deal with and get past. But what are you to do when the person that needs to agree to the decision just won't budge? And it's easy for people to say just leave them to their own devices. When it's your parents, you can't do that. It's not my mum's fault.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've been told not to worry about it. And I says, that's a situation when I was really angry. I says to my dad, what? How am I not to worry about it? I says, she's on the phone every day telling me that you're not well, you're not eating, your stomach's bad, your back's bad, that she's bad, that this is bad, that that's bad, that the carers are doing this. I said, every day it's more issues. His response, don't answer the phone. I says, how am I supposed to not answer the phone? What if it's an emergency? Just hang up. That's his approach to things. If she phones complaining, hang up the phone. That's what I'm dealing with, folks. It's not easy. Tonight I'm going to be going to the cinema to see Boogeyman with a couple of friends. It was arranged a couple of months ago when all of this wasn't so prevalent in front of my mind. So, plus I have to be up really early tomorrow to get ready to go to Rathlin, drive up to Ballycastle. It would be nice to be able to sort of like have that at the forefront of my mind and be excited. Moonpig, lovely. Oh, he's beautiful, lovely little dog. But yeah, I'll stop moaning. It's not going to change anything. What's the point of moaning? Anyway, just venting. That's what's happening at the minute. I shall sign off now. I'll probably not record any footage tonight because people don't really like you pointing your camera at them, you know what I mean? They're like, what are you doing? Go away. So I shall catch up with you guys next week. Hopefully I'll have a really nice video for tomorrow. Although if we get this sort of weather, it's going to put a real dampener on things. It is due to rain after that 4 weeks of beautiful weather when I booked to go to Rathlin. This is what we've got. It's rained like this every day, probably for a week. There's always payment, and I got a text from Francis from Scouts this morning to say something about toxic something or other in the River Bann, and they're having to drive up to view it to see if it's dispersed with
it's
rain.
It's poison.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Right, and that they may need to potentially either postpone or cancel the Scouts canoeing trip next weekend. But we have to wait and see, sort of thing. So, well, look at that. Can you imagine if it does this tomorrow and we're stuck in the middle of Rathlin, which is basically an isolated little island, so you can't get taxis. The bus will only travel if it has a certain amount of people on it, and basically it's somewhere to go on. And like, oh, that poor woman's got no coat on. And a white t-shirt. So yeah, I really hope this isn't the case. I want to be on the top deck of the ferry as well. Oh dear me, it's a nice way to end. We're getting torrential rain again, folks. I shall sign off now, guys. Oh, there's another point. Josephine, neighbour's gone on holiday for 4 weeks to Greece, leaving my dad to feed the cats. He can't even fucking feed himself when I'm home. So I'm going to have to look into that to make sure the cats are being fed today. Next door neighbour's 2 cats.
Side of your dad.
Yeah. He's in his bed. Kelsey, please. There's poor Josephine, the cat. Right, folks, I'll catch up with you. If there's anything of any interest to tell you, I'll check in later. If not, I shall speak to you next week. Hello, folks. Sunday evening, just after a really, really bad downpour. I'm sitting in town. Actually, I'll switch the engine off. I'm sitting in town. I came in early to go to Tesco to get travel sickness tablets for tomorrow's ferry to Rathlin, but everywhere shuts at 6 o'clock on a Sunday. So apparently it's going to be very windy. Some crossings may be cancelled. So I'm preparing by getting travel sickness tablets because Isaac even gets car sick. We don't have any. We're going to have to stop off somewhere on the way tomorrow, which is going to be a pain in the arse because we have to be set off really early. There's one place open, which is where I'm parked. It's like a filling station, like one of those Tesco. No, actually, it's Co-op. You know, like a mini Co-op sort of area. That's like Co-op Express, and they've got like all kinds of like painkillers and every hay fever thing. There's that fucking troll there. Oh, what a bloody cow. So they did have a switch over here. So as if I'm not in a bad enough mood after the day I've had, which, sorry, I've never even saw that, which hasn't been good. I went in to get travel sickness tablets. The place is shut. I went to this place thinking maybe they'll have some, and next door's kids that just are in there, and the way one sentence, it's her, I told you it's her, watching me going all around the shop. Then I saw their dad, as in the guy that she told everyone abused him and hit them, and she had them make up stories about him because she didn't want him to see them. He was with them, and I'm thinking that's a bit odd. But then I saw him go back to his car on his own. So obviously they were doing swap over here. He obviously has got visitation now, which, given what she said about him, it just shows what sort of person she is. Now that she's got a boyfriend and she wants some time to herself, he's all of a sudden got visitation. So she'll be coming out soon. I think she's been waiting in there hoping that I move because she doesn't want to drive past me. that's not her. But I saw her walk out of the shop a minute ago, so she's around somewhere. There's no escaping the troll. I mean, I'm in town, I'm like 12 miles away from home and I'm still running into the cow. We call her the troll, by the way. There's a lot of work going on in the house next door at the minute. They're getting them ready for whoever is going to be moving in. So fingers crossed that'll be someone decent. Today was a terrible day. I had my mum telling me all her worries all day. I know I just had to pause there to catch the retch in my throat. Some of the stuff he's been saying to her, I wish somebody would come and take you out of this house and put you into a bloody home. But yeah, but he won't do it. He's leaving it for... That's a text from the person I'm meant to be going to the cinema with. I don't know what that said. We're going to have to stop and see. It was one of them asking if any of us had got a bag big enough to smuggle her popcorn in. The old country band of buying... I've only got a little bag, so I'm no use. I'll probably go and sit round outside one of their houses in a minute and wait for them there. I'm not meant to be there till 7:30. It's now 7:10. What can you do? I don't like cinema popcorn and my teeth aren't something. Yeah, so she's getting popcorn, so I'm going to be... Oh, you know when someone's eating something and you're not and it makes you hungry? That's going to be the situation. So... And Kerry is one of these people that is so slim and she eats like a fucking horse and she's so slim, I don't understand it at all. We're going to see the Boogeyman in Antrim tonight. I'm driving. Becky doesn't drive. Kerry lives in England. Her husband is in the army, so she moves around a lot and she's back home. She's originally from here, so I wasn't planning on bringing a bag. I will have a look. So oh dear, all the discussion. So anyway, my mum was telling me all this stuff. My dad's not being the nicest at all. I had to go next door and feed the neighbour's cats today. I don't know how well he's doing that. He's basically getting up at like tea time, making her tea and sitting all night reading and barely speaking to her, which is shit. But she wants to go into residential care. The first step of that is I have to organise what's called a needs care assessment via the social worker. Typically all this is happening. I was supposed to be sorting this out tomorrow, but we're away at Rathlin all day tomorrow and leaving really early. And I don't know what cell reception's like there, and I don't want to be spending my day out on the phone to social workers talking about this. So we're going to have to leave a message with her and say, look, I want to get the ball rolling with getting this assessment done. I will call you tomorrow to talk about it in greater detail, but can you start the wheels moving? But the one place that's going to be suitable for her or that specialises in MS care will probably have a waiting list of a considerable length, I would imagine. Should be really lucky if they had a place. So we need to call and speak to them as well. I shouldn't be the one having to do all this, my dad should. But he's washed his hands off the entire situation. He doesn't want to know. So I'm having to try and manage it as best as I can. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'll probably check in after the cinema tonight to let you know how the film was. I'm not expecting much. A lot of people said it was rubbish. So I shall probably speak to you later, guys, on my drive home and let you know how things were.